This was really funny. I saw this TikTok. We have a quiet code for conservatives on dating apps.
So I don't know if liberals realize that Republicans
I've seen this.
are constantly speaking to each other in code out in public. Leave little clues for each other that only we will pick up on so we can identify each other out in the wild. I call this the quiet code.
All right, so there it is. The quiet code.
It's pretty funny because the quiet code is just like really silly. It's not quiet. You know what it's like? It's like seeing a Twitter account with a goddamn Greek statue in the avatar. You already know you're gonna see some stupid. Okay? That's not quiet at all. Like, human beings, maybe not as good as monkeys, are very good at picking up on certain stimuli and assuming the worst. We're very good at that. We start associating certain imagery or certain symbols with bad. It's pattern recognition. And conservatives, because of how stupid they are, think that pattern recognition is somehow a way that they are sneakily showing that they are conservative to other conservatives. It's not sneaky at all. All right, so let's get back to the quiet.
Get ready, because it is about to get absolutely hog wild up in here.
What are some examples of this quiet code? First and foremost, if a guy has moderate as his political views in a dating app, then ladies, he is a keeper because he is most likely a Republican.
It's so funny. It's like, dude, conservatives are such pussies. Like, just say you're conservative, dog. Like, what are you trying to slip that in? Why are you trying to go on a date with someone that you know is going to despise your horrifying worldviews? Like, what the fuck? Just say you're conservative, which is also ironic because, like, again, this lady is talking about like the quiet code or whatever, but like everybody already knows that. You see a fucking American flag in someone's profile, you know that motherfucker is a conservative. You see that little God emoji or the little cross emoji that people put. If I see a Bible verse on a motherfucker's Instagram account, I know I'm about to see some wild shit, okay? Why are you putting a Bible verse on your Instagram profile? Why are you putting a little fucking Latin cross emoji on your fucking Instagram profile? Instagram is the devil, okay? It is literally the furthest away you can be from being godlike. Why are you in these circles? The fuck are you doing? It's like being Muslim and then going to a fucking bar right after you go to the pig butcher shop. What the fuck? It's the opposite. It's a circle of hell, okay? It's Dante's Inferno, first level. Why are you there? It's not for you. Don't put this motherfucking cross on your Instagram description and act like you're here to do godly shit.
Or if his love language is sending tweets, especially if his username is something like user12437. That is legacy from the pre-Elon days when we were all afraid to like anything.
I'm gonna let her keep talking because she keeps going and it just like, it keeps being so good. It just keeps being so good. But I have to say something. I have to let you know that she's being serious. There are a lot of people in the comments of that video that are like, this is satire, right? This has to be satire. But y'all, I really don't think that it is.
Fellas, if your man's Twitter profile is user127589, you're not dating a man, you're dating a crypto bot, okay? You're dating a bot that was created by possibly a man to shill crypto under every Elon Musk post. Just letting you know, just cluing you in on this so you don't make a mistake. It's not an accident that the man that you're talking to keeps telling you about his apes. He does not have a Jane Goodall style interest in monkeys and apes. He is talking about crypto apes. He's trying to sell you apes. All my apes gone is what he is going to say to you.
If they're ever wearing anything from Orvis or Bass Pro Shop, if they have the All-In Pod or Joe Rogan as recently played in their Spotify, if they watched Yellowstone or are into grilling.
Yeah, here, let's just watch the full one.
There is a whole happening around them, like when they see people walking through brick walls and train stations.
Oh God, God. Everyone's a libtard. Everyone is so fucking libtarded, dude. Look, Harry Potter references.
Actually don't pick up on. It's kind of like the Muggles in Harry Potter when they just don't notice all the magic happening around them. Like,
it's like, she's not doing a bit, man. She's not doing a bit. This account is called non-libtake, okay? She's not doing a bit. She's like this stupid. Yo, they're unironically going through their like 2014 era, SJW era. Conservatives are unironically going through that right now online because neoliberalism has the capacity to just like suck everything under this monoculture understanding of the world. And it's like, obviously neoliberalism is also inherently right-wing when it comes to economic policy, but like on the social front, conservatives are basically also turning into liberals. Like, this is the exact same type of energy as like, these are my red flags in guys, and making a video like that. This is the type of shit that conservatives always used to make fun of, while they were always this person, right? It's really, really funny and really interesting to me, at least, that they have gone full circle. This is indecipherable. If you didn't understand the cultural signifiers that she's pointing to, you would think that this is a Pod Save America listener, okay? You would think that this is literally someone who's like, I love Jon Favreau. I want him so bad. Not the actor, writer. I'm talking Jon Favreau, the brilliant Obama speechwriter, okay? Obama John. That's what I'm talking about. So yeah, it's kind of funny to be like this, kind of person. It's giving, I'm leaving for Canada if Joe Biden gets elected energy. You know what I mean? I thought this was the type of stuff that you guys made fun of. They've become that person. The language that they use, the aesthetics, the overarching sense of like wanting to protect yourself, looking for a safe space.
They have a sudden newfound favor of Bill Maher, like in the last 2 years, if they stop at Buc-ee's on road trips.
This is like an incredibly specific person. She's basically talking about the last guys that she's dated in Austin, Texas or something, that is like supposed to be a liberal area, but like kind of still has some conservatives. You know what I mean? It's just so odd. She's describing a person who is like mostly in a liberal, predominantly liberal area, definitely has like even liberal tendencies in certain respects, but is like still very much a conservative. That's what she's talking about. Because I don't think conservatives that live in predominantly conservative areas are trying to desperately hide their conservatism. I don't think they are. I think that they are openly saying that they're fucking conservative. They write "Let's Go Brandon" on their fucking dating apps or whatever the fuck. Here, let's do some fun shit real quick. Erdogan, where's your wife?
I'm surviving, yeah. Thanks for trying.
Toplara sevim. Yani öyle mi?
X, look the ball.
Oh my god, he's calling him X. He's calling him by his name, dude.
He'll get friendly.
Please, where is your wife?
Where is your wife? Yo! Yeah, go ahead. Explain to him that she's fucking debating the sexual revolution with like a bunch of fucking fake tradcath podcasters and like former New York Times columnist who started a failed university grift. Go ahead. It's so awesome.
He's in San Francisco.
San Francisco'da şu an.
We're separated. I take care of him mostly.
Biz şu an ayrı yaşıyoruz. Sonuçta oğluma ben bakıyorum.
Wait, what the fuck was he in Turkey for? Somebody told him Erdogan is culturally conservative and values family, and this dumbass decided that meant equipping a toddler like a buff item in a video game. Is it the Tesla factory shit? It's in New York? Wait, Erdogan's in New York right now? Chill, bro. Do you think Erdogan knows who you are? Fuck no, and I want to keep it that way. I hope he does not know. Erdogan asked Musk to build a Tesla. This is an ongoing thing for the record. They wanted a Tesla factory in Turkey years ago. It cited Musk as saying many Turkish suppliers are already working with Tesla and that Turkey was among the most important candidates for its next factory. A skyscraper near the end of United Nations in New York, Turkey state-owned Anadolu News Agency reported. Erdogan is in the U.S. to attend the 78th session of the UN General Assembly. Erdogan also said during the meeting that Turkey was open to cooperation on artificial intelligence and Starlink. It cited Musk as saying SpaceX wished to work with Turkish authorities to... Oh, God. You know what's really fucking annoying? Like, I can't even imagine, like, Turkey being, like, a BRICS country. I can see Turkey, given its unique position in NATO, being batshit fucking crazy. Turkey attends the BRICS meetings while in NATO. If there's only one fucking country that could do it, it's Turkey. The lira is getting roasted. Fuck you, man. Dude, this is so bad. I just legitimately don't understand how it just happens. Like how life happens in Turkey. Like I don't get it. I ask my friends and my family all the fucking time and they just seemingly have no response to it. Where basically they're just like, yeah, we don't really fully comprehend it. How do people's salaries work over there with the devaluation happening so fast? Brother, I don't understand. I don't know. I literally don't know. Especially because the Turkish economy is still pegged to the dollar. So like a dollar being 26 lira, you would think wouldn't fucking matter, but it certainly does. It's like a very odd situation. It's not like food costs are kept like if a sandwich is 20 lira, okay, then it's still 20 lira. No, a sandwich becomes 100 lira. And what I don't understand is like, it's not like wages have increased comparatively. Like they have hyperinflation and no wage increase. So I don't know how the fuck people just survive. There is a robust welfare state on top of that Erdogan has implemented, but like in a very classic despot way where it's like directly tied to party support. Well, family size cereal is $9 here now. Man, don't American inflation concerns are nothing in comparison to Turkish inflation. Come on, dude. And it feels like everywhere outside of like not America, inflation in America is wild. And then you look at inflation everywhere else and you're like, oh shit, what the fuck? How are they surviving? I just don't personally understand. And I genuinely, because I haven't been back in so long, that I don't think I'll ever be able to understand exactly how the operation continues, in the sense that like people still do legitimately vote for Erdogan, like nonstop. They vote for him in droves. It's like people love saying like, oh, it's corrupt, it's corrupt, it's corrupt. But it's like, no, there's still popular support. You know what I mean? 100%. In this last election, make no mistake, it's difficult to get a good gauge in Turkey of genuine popular support because the polling system is completely fraudulent, like entirely. It's just you pay for a poll to show you whatever number you want to see, right? And the entire media apparatus is bought by Erdogan loyalists, so it's impossible to get a good assessment on that front either. And even with the earthquake, you thought, like, people genuinely thought, oh, okay, it's done. Like, this year it's finally over. And it was a major blow for the Turkish opposition. What is this? Hasan Minhaj's emotional truths in a stand-up act. The former Patriot Act host has often recounted harrowing experiences he faced as Asian American and Muslim American. Does it matter that much of it never happened to him? Wait, what? Motherfucker lied? Wait, what? That's kind of crazy. Wait, what? No. He lied a ton? This is a wild thing to make up. The comedian defended his fabrications, saying they were based on an emotional truth. Why did he admit to this? He should have just never talked about this, in my opinion, until like 20 years down the line or something. I get what he's saying about emotional truth. What he's trying to say is that like this is a real thing that happened to many fucking Muslim Americans, especially like visibly Muslim brown Americans that like a lot of people shit on. And I wanted to make something funny out of it. I guess that's what he's trying to say. I mean, a lot of comedians lie for jokes. You know what I mean? It's still a wild thing to lie about. I guess it stems from an understanding of like what kind of commentary and comedy he's doing, because his comedy also revolves around political commentary, so it's a little bit different. You know what I mean? If Joe Rogan is fucking lying about like, I don't know, some stool fucking story that he has, it's a little bit different. Like, you don't look at that and you go, there's a real emotional, genuine thing that happened here. It's like if I lied to you about fucking farting on a dog or something, you know what I mean? It's like low stakes lying. Whereas like lying about a lot of real formative truths, especially in a stand-up special that like features your experiences growing up as like a brown Muslim man in America, that's definitely a little bit higher in the stakes situation, even though technically a lot of comedy is of course made up. The goal is to make you laugh and make you think, right? I think the other aspect of this is more so like, it's not like a Jussie Smollett situation. I don't think so. I don't think so at all, because this is a stand-up special. So the Jussie Smollett situation is like literally faking a hate crime, right? Jussie Smollett faked a hate crime to gain attention and like continue his job when his job prospects were not great, not looking too good. He had authorities involved. He set up a whole ass hate crime. Like, there is no comparison here. Whereas this is an elaborate story that he's telling you, and he's never actually like telling you that this story is supposed to be 100% truthful, but everyone expects that to be 100% truthful, because why the fuck would you lie about something like that? Because this is stand-up. It's a stand-up special. In the post-Obama era of content, a lot of comedies turned around and turned into just make me think, don't make me laugh. As a matter of fact, let me clap at you rather than laugh with you. And I think that is the reason why we place a lot of emphasis on comedians being like truth tellers and world changers and all this shit, when it's like, no man, they're supposed to make you laugh. Like, that's it. You know what I mean? That's the point. And I think that is the reason why a lot of people, a lot of liberals who care about comedy from that aspect, will look at someone like Hasan Minhaj and place him in a higher level of commentary that is, in my opinion, unwarranted. One that he has still personally benefited from in the liberal media era, right? The story outlines several fabrications peppered throughout Minhaj's work, often in service of describing experiences of discrimination and threats of violence for speaking truth to power. It is not unheard of for comedians or even memoirists to tweak, exaggerate, or make up certain details to ensure a joke lands. And Minhaj defended his choices, saying the stories he told were based on emotional truth. He added, the punchline is worth the fictionalized premise. Two prominent stories featured in Minhaj's 2022 stand-up special, The King's Jester, were falsified. The first centers around a white man named Brother Eric, who Minhaj said converted to Islam instead of showing up as Sacramento area mosque he attended as a kid in 2002. In the bit, Minhaj said he was sure brother Eric was an informant and even tried to goad him into talking about getting his pilot's license. Minhaj claimed that led to a confrontation with the police. The bit ends with Minhaj claiming years later he recognized brother Eric as a man named Craig Montailth, who did work as an FBI informant in Muslim communities. This was revealed to a surveillance case that reached the Supreme Court. In reality, however, Montailth was in prison in 2002 and didn't start working in the FBI until 2006. So, you know what's really funny about this? Like, this is a Muslim dude who's fucking telling a story about a common experience that, like, a lot of Muslims went through in America in a post 9/11 world. And, like, just because he didn't personally go through it, but decided to fucking massage himself into that fucking story, doesn't change the reality of the story that actually fucking happened. It's just storytelling. Like, I think it's kind of funny that people are just like, wow, I can't believe he lied about this. It's like, bro, but it happened. You know what I mean? Like, what are you talking about? Like, the story that he's telling did not happen to him, but it fucking happened. Now, there's of course a difference. If I were to tell you a story like that and tell you in all sincerity and act like it happened to me, that's a little bit different because I'm a commentator, right? I'm not a comedian and it's not my stand-up special. But he's a comedian doing a stand-up special. Of course, the story that he's telling, a version of that story literally happened in the real world. And the major difference between why he puts himself in the center of the story is because, as Fango Lives correctly points out, I have a friend, or did you hear about this guy stories don't land like the I did stories. Exactly. It's supposed to be a joke, or it's supposed to make you laugh about a situation that like happened to people that looked like him in America. I guess he lied about that. The bit ends with Minhaj claiming years later he recognized them, FBI informant. In reality, however, Montailth was in prison. He never worked in Sacramento, only in Southern California. Despite the fabrication, Minhaj remained defiant, suggesting he owed Montailth nothing because of his actual work as an informant, which this part is 100% true. And sorry, but it's quite fucking Caucasian for someone to be like, actually, this fucking like pedophile informant that the FBI tapped to infiltrate Muslim communities has to literally get the real recognition. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, suck my dick, okay? Do you understand what I'm saying? I do think that there's a couple different factors at play here, though, within the fabrication. One, it's like liberals and how much emphasis they place on their own media consumption and how important that is to their worldview. It's like everything that I'm consuming says something about me and says something about my worldview, and I'm a good person, and I actually listened to Hasan Minhaj's stories, and I felt something, and now I feel betrayed. It's like, no, man, he's a fucking comedian, okay? I saw criticism of Minhaj in tweets like this about how he's engaging in oppression porn. Another example of how oppression stories, in this case fabricated oppression porn, gets leveraged by upwardly mobile immigrants the most advanced their careers. Cannot think of a better evocation of the stuff I wrote about in my last book. Comedians, of course, have a right to make up stuff to tell a joke. You don't actually have to have a friend who said something funny, but this is totally different. It's oppression fantasy that delegitimizes the real stuff via elite capture. I don't agree because ultimately this is a real story that happened to people that literally look like Hasan Minhaj, that live in the same communities as Hasan Minhaj, and his goal is to take that story and blast it into the fucking orbit as a comedian. You know what I mean? Here it is. Biden, former President Trump, in a tight race for the 2024 presidency, CBS News poll finds, and actually Brandon is losing.
News latest poll numbers on the presidential race showing that former President Donald Trump is leading President Biden by 1 point. That's a statistical tie. This among likely voters if Trump is a Republican nominee. Many who responded say age is a factor for them in their decision.
I know I'm 198 years old. But all kidding aside.
Concerns about age are nothing new for President Biden. But the latest CBS News poll puts the problem in stark relief. Only 1/3 of respondents think Mr. Biden would be likely to finish a second term.
Dude, if only there were some like political commentators out there who pointed to this, I don't know, in the last cycle. If only someone was like, hey man, seems like this is a 1-term situation, and even if it's a 2-term situation, it's not going to look good. It's not that he's super popular, but it's more so that like he was presented as the guy to beat Donald Trump when like there were other guys who could have also defeated Donald Trump and they were not seen as like reasonable alternatives. But of course no one could have. Oh, just kidding. I'm not even hyping myself up. Everybody said that. Like literally everyone outside of MSNBC, fuck it, even people at MSNBC sometimes said it. You know what I mean? Not pro Bernie, but still. Like virtually everyone was like, I don't want to vote for this guy. He's like decrepit. But what other option do I have at this point? I just don't want fucking Donald Trump to be the president. Oh.
You need someone with a little more energy level.
When I see him move, he looks old, but when I hear him and his ideas, I think
they're youthful.
Mr. Biden's doctor says his stiffened gait is a product of spinal arthritis and a recent foot fracture, but that otherwise he is a healthy, vigorous 80-year-old male.
Healthy, vigorous 80-year-old man. She's laughing, bro. That's nuts, dog. If your press secretary can't fucking say the propaganda that she's being paid to say with a straight face, like there's something real wrong here, okay?
80-year-old male.
80's the new 40. Didn't you hear?
But the poll shows that voters' worries go beyond physical fitness. Respondents were far more likely to say that only Trump, and not Mr. Biden, has the cognitive and mental health to serve.
Why do you think so many Americans still say they have concerns about someone in their 80s?
Dog, it's because people respond to what they see. That's it, okay? Donald Trump is also fucking 80, but he is far better and far more telegenic than Joe Brandon is. That's it. I would go so far as to say the same about Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders is older than both of them. And yet, when he's on camera, you don't see it. Trump is 78. Doesn't matter. What I'm simply stating is that, like, Trump is a little bit younger than Joe Brandon, but ultimately, he presents as much better than Joe Biden does. Same with Bernie Sanders. Do you get what I'm saying? This poll has Trump winning 17% of the black vote and 47% of the Hispanic vote. Like, come on. If you think that Trump winning 17% of the black vote and 47% of the Hispanic vote is actually not a conservative estimate, I don't know what to tell you. Those numbers are real, okay? No, don't say fuck no. Chat, I've been talking about this for some time. That literally tracks. Oh my God, I hate this conversation. Chat, that abso-fucking-lutely tracks. Dude, okay, without Googling, tell me what percentage of the black vote did Donald Trump win last time? Don't Google it. Okay, everybody's dropping crazy numbers. Hispanic people vote less and less on racial lines every election. Yes, thank you. Thank you. People don't realize that. 70% of Hispanic people in the country identify as white. Something to consider. A 5% increase from 12% to 17% is not outside of the fucking boundaries. It's not completely ridiculous to assume that Donald Trump would be able to increase his support, especially when he already has. Hispanic support is also moving in the opposite direction. This is a literal point of contention. Latino voters across the board, even on older demographics, are oftentimes very Christian, very Catholic, and very socially conservative. And yet there's one factor that they care about above all else. They are, no matter how you ask them this question, even in the most like antagonistic way possible, they are in support of big government. This is something that is very unique. They are in support of bigger government initiatives, which is a framing of this question that is like inherently a negative connotation associated with it. And yet Latino voters say that they are in favor of it. Now, in the absence of the Democratic Party crafting a message towards Latino voters that is in favor of better government initiatives, there's only one thing left that they would vote on, which is social conservatism, okay? Democrats can't go, all right, fuck all the religious shit. Don't worry about that, okay? We're not going to touch any of that, but you want good social programs? We got you. They don't even do that shit. They rely on the Republican Party being racist. They're like, hey, look at these fucking racist Republicans. Come on, vote for us. Trump said Mexicans are rapists. And then you got fucking Mexican Americans who are like, no, Trump is right. Mexicans are rapists. Yeah, and also he's a real Christian, and I care about abortion, and I hate socialism now. We're going to fucking go and vote for Trump. Like, what are you doing? If you don't offer people anything, why the fuck would they vote? Have you done your homework on Latino voter stats recently? Are you quoting stats from college? I haven't looked at that recently. This was like polling done from a couple years prior, not from college. But you are seeing a sea change right now. You're seeing a change in the attitude, okay? You're seeing a change in Latino voting blocks and the black voting bloc moving not in the predictable direction of like maybe not voting, but instead in certain instances actually voting for the Republican Party. And this is minor, certainly minor, but it signals certain polls shifting in this country. That's important because if the Democratic Party keeps losing the black voting bloc due to circumstances like voter suppression and also due to a lack of interest in the Democratic Party to do anything that materially protects them, that's one thing. But if they start losing voters and they start going and voting in the other direction, then we're talking about an entirely different situation. Saying like, oh man, no black people are voting for Donald Trump, I mean, you're missing the forest for the trees. Signs of weakness for the Democratic Party among Hispanic voters. While most Hispanic voters plan to vote for Democrats in November, they overwhelmingly say they're voting on economic issues. 54% say they're voting on economic issues. 56% still say they're voting for the Democratic candidate. Who do you agree more with on the economy? 43% say Democratic Party, 41% say Republican. Bro, other voting blocks, they would literally say they agree with the Republican Party. Like, lifelong Democrats would be like, yeah, I agree with the fucking Republican Party, actually, on the economy. That in and of itself is a continuation continuation of the thing I was mentioning to you, is that like Latino and Hispanic voter blocks are significantly more open-minded to big government initiatives or more social safety nets. You fucking ask them though. You ask them like who has your better interest in mind as it pertains to like gun rights or abortion and shit like that. They're gonna fucking vote for the Republicans. So stick to that message. What is this?
Did you guys hear the U.S. Senate just eliminated its dress code because you got this guy from Pennsylvania who's got a lot of problems? I mean, let's just be honest, like how he got elected. Well, I mean, he got elected because they didn't want the alternative, but he wears like sweatshirts and hoodies and shorts.
Damn, anti-Turkish sentiment from Ron. Well, I was planning on voting for him, but he lost my vote. Let me tell you. He just kind of snubbed Dr. Oz, Dr. Mehmet Öz there. Did you guys see that? Well, people didn't like the alternative. Some Turkish guy.
And that's his thing. So he would campaign in that, which is your prerogative, right? I mean, if that's what you want to do. But to show up in the United States Senate with that and not have the decency to put on proper attire, I think it's disrespectful to the body. And I think the fact that the Senate changed the rules to accommodate that, I think speaks very poorly.
Ron is tackling the real issues head on. Greg Gutfeld makes the senseless murder of retired Nevada cop filmed by the teens who stole a car and deliberately ran him over, all about George Floyd. So what's really wild about this hit and run story that's been going viral on Twitter, which is, 4chan now, is that I didn't know anything about it till I saw Republicans like posting about it. And I guess because I'm a normal person, my immediate assumption wasn't that like these teenagers that like did it were probably subsequently punished. And I didn't think that they like let him go, right? And it turns out, yeah, the innocent man that was murdered in cold blood while riding his bicycle, the killers joked about it on social media, yet where's the media outrage? It's like, it's a senseless crime. It happened a month ago. The teen is charged with murder. The teen will be prosecuted fully. The teen isn't a trained officer of the law. No one is defending the teen's actions. Las Vegas has been mourning the victim. It's a random act of senseless violence. The part I don't understand is like, what do they want in that situation? Like pull the dude up and like shoot him or something? Like, I don't know. And it's not like the fucking teenagers knew that the dude was like a former police chief or something. You know what I mean? They're fucking psychos. They're like fucking psychopaths. We have that, Like it's not appropriate. It's just completely senseless and incredibly fucked up. I don't give a shit if he's like a former chief of police or whatever. Like I'm not one of these fucking freaks, right? Like you got an old ass man on a bike getting fucking murdered ruthlessly, Grand Theft Auto style.
Of a public execution, okay, with no regard for the consequences. And this is not just repulsive and something that is not forgettable. When Greg talks about the
Teen Laz is a mow down cop, which is like a wild way to present the story because like they weren't like, oh, that's a cop, let's go kill him. It's like an old man on a bike, which in my opinion is like worse. You know what I mean? They just like, they weren't even like, ooh, I bet this guy is a cop, like let's go kill him. You know what I mean? They were like, there's an old man on a fucking bicycle, let's go murder him. You know what I mean?
ISIS videos. And, there are certain things you don't forget. But this is a place where murder is a sport, where the video...
Yeah, you're right. America is a place where murder is a sport. You're absolutely correct on this. Now, let's unpack that. She's right. She's absolutely right. Our culture is so fucked up. I agree. I wonder where it comes from. I wonder what kind of death and violence that we engage in the real world that ends up normalizing it. Is it video games? Well, if that's the case, then there's plenty of video games elsewhere. Why aren't they doing that in other countries? Why is it that like America is like uniquely violent by every objective standard in comparison to other OECD nations? Why is America just so much more violent? Because like when people say it's music, rap music, or video games or whatever, it's like the rest of the world consumes all that shit at the same level. I don't know. Something to think about.
Is your bravado where the victim, the innocent, silent victim of crime is nothing more than collateral damage, and where no justice will ever be gotten for the victim or the victim's family. That's all we're seeing now with this Generation Z that doesn't care about consequences, which to them now is a relatively new concept. And I'm going to spin off of what Greg just talked about.
Yeah, her generation famously didn't do any violence. Yeah, her generation is even different than that. Bro, you're the most lead-poisoned generation. What the fuck are you talking about? Like, objectively, all the generations that have come since since Judge Janine's psychotic generation has been significantly less violent, right? Violent crime has only gone down, yet it's still up in comparison to the rest of the world. Now, we know at least where their fucking violence and mania is possibly coming from, partially due to the lead poisoning that I just mentioned. But also, I don't know, maybe outside of like the material realities of constant despair, alienation, inequality, lack of opportunities, and the like, why are there still so many more violent instances in America? I don't know. Well, one, guns. Okay, that's a big part of it. Cars, that's another big part of it. We have a lot more cars and we have a lot more guns in other countries. The lack of access to healthcare is another one. Okay, but if we're moving beyond the material realities, right? Even if you try to make a one-to-one comparison, if adjusted to like opportunities for people and education and social safety nets, which is really hard to do. But even if you were to do such a thing, America has a spiritual issue with violence in general. We're a very violent fucking country. All of that violence that we are engaging in all around the fucking world and the justifications for it inevitably are going to create an attitude amongst Americans that like, this kind of lack of accountability for violent behavior is permanently instilled in the minds of every fucking generation of Americans. What you can do is choose to work against that by, at the very least, solving the underlying material problems. But that's it. If you're an entire nation whose history starts with like genocide, as many nations do, right? And your continuation of said genocidal, bloodthirsty acts have been a necessity for the continuation of global hegemonic American power, then I feel like those justifications are inevitably going to cause permanent psychic damage in the collective consciousness of Americans, okay? We've never really addressed any of these issues. We've never chose to seriously right these wrongs, and we continue to do violent things to everyone around the world with no care or consideration to the victims, and then we just routinely justify it. Like, why the fuck would people have a nonviolent approach? We have a domestic police force, when you think about it, that operates like a paramilitary occupying force. We're so in love with colonizing that we kind of create domestic colonies and hurt our fellow Americans as well. There's no love for America or your fellow American. Why would anyone not be a violent freak? Instead of stealing a car and like running over a random dude on a bike, if they had shot him, the very same Republican media would say that they're lone wolves, and this has nothing to do with like guns and gun violence at all. Yeah, if they ran around and like shot random people and one of them happened to be a cop, they would not run defense for him. They would either try to say, oh, mental health. We got to do mental health. We got to do something about the mental health of our children, which they have, of course, no interest in that, right? They have no interest in that at all, because then they would have to defend it. But of course, now it's like, oh yeah, it's George Floyd time somehow. If you are growing up in a time when all you see from the media is literally police being violent towards individuals, and then like police being also violent to those who protest that individual act of violence from the state, then like that's all they know. All they know is violence.
They actually tweeted about it being like the ISIS video. It's hard to affect the city mentality and in anybody's world these days. It's like talking to a drug addict. Hey, did you know crime is really bad for you? And it's like, dude, no, man. But maybe you should cut.
Yeah, dude, everybody loves crime. People that live in cities are always like, can't get enough of crime, please. Please give me more crime. Like, what kind of fucking commentary is this? You have to be fucking exclusively cutting this commentary for like the suburbs, right? Hoping that the last remaining like 78-year-olds living in the suburbs are like, yeah, that's right. That is how they are in fucking cities. Like, that's so stupid.
Back on the crime and say, dude, we're good. So what you need is transformational experience and events that would change this mindset, the before and after incident. It like the ISIS videos, the thing that jars you into a new reality.
I haven't seen the full video. The police arrested him, but they're not releasing information on him because he's 17. I mean, this is the kid. They're like hiding their faces. These are the kids who did it. Did they know him or have a prior altercation with the guy? What the fuck? No, dude. No. They straight up go, yo, go fucking ram into him. No. If you listen to Fox News, you would think that like these kids basically fucking stole a car and were like, let's go kill this cop. Okay? No. They hit a car. They drove away. They're like literally fucking fucking filming themselves while doing this. They're wearing masks, and then they see a biker who's biking on the side of the road, like an old ass man you could see in the fucking video. And they just intentionally go, oh, hit his ass. And they drive up to him and they hit him. It is the perfect definition of a random act of violence. It's really fucked up. It's a really, really, really fucked up video. 5 Americans free from Iran. Let's see.
What we're going to see right now is the first time in 8 years that Siamak Namazi has been able to breathe free air.
And we are seeing that happen right now. We're trying to see from our vantage point who is coming up. That's Murad. Yeah.
No, the first one I think is Ahmad Shargi. Then you have Murad Tabaz, and then you have Siamak.
Okay, so 5 Americans detained for years in Iran walked off a plane into Freedom Monday, most arm in arm as a part of the politically risky deal that saw President Joe Biden agree to release nearly $6 billion in frozen Iranian assets owed by a third country, South Korea. So one thing to consider here, because this is something that conservatives are ass-pained about for a while, okay? They literally were like, oh my God, Biden is giving money to Iran. What the fuck, $6 billion? That's crazy. Yeah, dog, it wasn't our money. It was their money anyway. It was just assets that we had frozen that we gave back to Iran in exchange for 5 Americans that were detained for years. Successful negotiations for the Americans' freedom brought Biden profuse thanks for the families, but heat from the Republican presidential rivals and other opponents. Iran's hardline president Ibrahim Raisi, on hand for the United Nations General Assembly in New York, suggested Monday's exchange could be a step in the direction of a humanitarian action between us and America. It can definitely help in building trust, Raisi told journalists. However, tensions are almost certain to remain high between U.S. and Iran, which are locked in disputes over Tehran's nuclear program and other matters. Iran says the program is peaceful, but it now enriches uranium closer than ever to weapons grade levels. I wonder if there was a reason as to why that happened. Like, what could have happened in Iran in the last 4 or 5 years, 6 years, 7 years period that led to Iran going back and enriching uranium when they certainly weren't doing so in the Obama administration? Listen, man, if I'm a fucking Democrat, I know Americans don't give a fuck about foreign policy, but anytime some dumb motherfucker on the right says some shit about this, I'll be like, under Obama, there were no fucking nuclear developments in Iran. Under Trump, that deal was cast aside. One of Obama's greatest foreign policy accomplishments, by the way. Like, literally, a multiple year, multiple country deal that was put together that Iran was following the conditions on, that Donald Trump, which insane that we just don't even talk about that all that much, that Donald Trump just cast aside for no reason other than fuck Iran and fuck Obama. One of the very few things that he did that was good, along with normalizing relations or starting to normalize relations with Cuba, which Donald Trump also broke, and also Biden has not changed for the better. Again, not only did Iran, in a sense of sheer disbelief, continue to follow the terms of the agreement, even after Donald Trump said he destroyed it, Trump also did follow through and execute a important leader in Iran as well. So here are the 3 people. Prisoner release unfolded amid a major American military buildup in the Persian Gulf with the possibility of U.S. troops boarding and guarding commercial ships in the Strait of Hormuz, through which 20% of all oil shipments pass. After the plane stopped, slowed to a stop in Doha, 3 prisoners walked down the stairs. The 3, Siamak Namazi, Ahmad Shargi, and Murad Tabaz, then threw their arms over one of their shoulders. I would not be free today if it wasn't for all of you who didn't allow the world to forget me. Thank you for being my voice when I could not speak for myself. The United States did not immediately identify the 2 other freed Americans, all of whom were released in exchange for 5 Iranians. Who were the other 2 freed Americans? Interesting that they are not immediately identifying them. I wonder who they were. Anyway, probably not important. The Biden administration said that the 5 freed Iranians posed no threat to the U.S. national security. Then why the fuck were they arrested? I don't know. Why the fuck were the Americans arrested in Iran? I also don't know. 2 of the imprisoned American family members, Effie Namazi and Vida Tahbaz, who had been under travel bans in Iran, were also on the plane. The women, too, clasped arms and kissed on the tarmac in Qatar. Iranian Foreign Ministry spokesman Nasir Kanani said 2 of the Iranian prisoners will stay in the U.S. Meanwhile, Noor News, a website believed to be close to Iran's security apparatus, said 2 of the Iranian prisoners were in Doha for the swap. Noor News identified the 2 released Iranians in Doha as Mehrdad Ansari, an Iranian sentenced to the U.S. for 63 months in prison in 2021 for obtaining equipment that could be used in missiles, electronic warfare, nuclear weapons, and other military gear, and Reza Sharghanpur Kafrani, an Iranian charged in 2021 over allegedly unlawfully exporting laboratory equipment to Iran. What? Unlawfully exporting laboratory equipment? Wait, why doesn't this say what the Americans that were imprisoned in Iran did? Okay, I take back what I said about Mexico, dude. That shit is way worse, dog. He was sending sending fucking beakers to Iran and got clapped, okay? That's nuts. The $5.9 billion in cash released to Iran represents money South Korea owed Iran, but has not yet paid for oil purchased before the U.S. imposed sanctions on such transactions in 2019. The U.S. maintains that once in Qatar, the money would be held in restricted accounts to be used only for humanitarian goods such as medicine and food. These transactions are currently allowed under American sanctions targeting the Islamic Republic over its advancing nuclear program. The U.S. maintains that once Qatar, the money will be held in restricted accounts. Iranian government officials have largely concurred those through some hardliners. Some have insisted without evidence that there would be no restrictions on how Tehran spends its money. Deal, of course, immediately pissed off the Republicans who hate good things and think that that is like totally not allowed. Only bad things here, please. Former President Donald Trump, currently the lead of the Republican challenger in the polls, said it's absolutely ridiculous deal. Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell accused Biden of rewarding and incentivizing Tehran's bad behavior, like selling beakers or selling oil to South Korea and then expecting to be paid for said oil. You know what I mean? It's like, the fuck? Really fucked up. In his statement, Biden urged Americans not to travel to Iran and demanded more information on what happened to Bob Levinson, an American who went missing years ago. The Biden admin also announced fresh sanctions on former Iranian President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad and the Iranian Ministry of Intelligence. Why won't they say what the Iranian government claims the Americans did? Like, it's probably bullshit. Well, the two that are unnamed don't think that's bullshit. I'll keep it a buck, okay? The other three that are named, they probably were claimed to be spies, but they most likely probably weren't. But the two that are not named, I don't know. They don't just redact foreign policy accomplishments like that. Iran and the U.S. have a history of prisoner swaps dating back to the 1979 U.S. embassy takeover. The West accuses Iran of using foreign prisoners, including those with dual nationality, as bargaining chips, an allegation Tehran rejects. Negotiations over a major prisoner swap faltered when Trump unilaterally withdrew America from the nuclear deal in 2018. Very odd that they mention enriching uranium, but not necessarily the many years where that didn't happen for some weird unforeseeable reason. See, this is what I mean when I say like even liberal media when it comes to foreign policy is like weirdly as reactionary as the most reactionary Republican, if not more, because how odd that like there is not a single mention of that in this entire piece. Not a fan of the reactionary Iranian theocracy, okay? Not a big fan of that, but odd and quite peculiar that Iran did follow on the conditions that were facilitated by the Obama administration, even after Trump said that he was done with the deal for no reason whatsoever. And very odd that they are not mentioning that in this motherfucking article that has all of this information about Iran, including literally embassy takeover hostage crisis swaps from 1979. Like, I feel like that would be important. They mentioned Trump. They mentioned Trump's criticisms of Biden, but they didn't mention that part. Very strange. Very odd. I don't know what that's about. But of course, I must be yet another designated certified Hasan is a tanky moment where I'm also, I guess, defending Iran. Anyway, I love Bethesda games. You guys already know. I am a bit of an unapologetic fanboy. You're space dust, motherfucker. Let's go. I am a nerd for this kind of shit specifically. I love space exploration games. Damn, dude, this is gonna be great for capitalist mining extraction. This is everything I wanted. In the words of Todd Howard, it just works. I mean, this does actually work.